Welcome to part 5 of our mouse maze game. We're almost done. There should be only one more part. That's what I'm thinking. But anyway, we're going to go over adding lives and a game over screen. Okay, so the very first thing we want to do is on our end screen. Okay, let's go inside of here. Right now, our title where it says you won, we want to be able to change this to either you won or you lost, and that way we can use the same end screen regardless of whether or not the player won or lost. So let's select this U1 text here, okay? We're going to change it from static text to dynamic text, so that way we can actually change it with code. We're going to give it an instance name of txt title, okay? And now we can go back and save, and we can go into our code now and actually go and add some lives and a game over function, all right? So go to your actions window, and right under where we declared our maze variable, we want to declare a variable called lives left. We're going to set it equal to 2 to start. So the player will start with 2 lives left. They'll have 2 lives left, which means they have 3 lives total. So when they start, they'll have 2 lives left. They lose once. They have 1 life left. They lose one more time. They have 0 lives left, and then they lose. Final, that's it. That's game over. Okay, so this will be how many lives the player has left. All right, so now whenever the player hits the wall in our update function, remember we have this, then we want to go ahead and subtract from lives. So we're going to say lives left minus minus, and same as subtracting 1. So just like plus plus, very similar. Okay, so we're going to say decrement, which just means decrease by 1, number of lives left. All right. And then what we want to do is if lives left is less than 0, I believe we made a function called handle player lost, and we're going to call that. So if player is out of lives, we want to call handle player lost, which I believe is a function we have on the very bottom, which right now just says you lost. All right, so let's go ahead and save and run this, and let's just test it to see that once we lose 3 times, so we start, lose once, lose twice, lose 3 times. They have 3 chances before it says you lost, and now we're not actually resetting anything, so we need to handle game over and all that. Okay, so back into our actions, right? When we lose, we want to go to the end screen, right? So we have some common functions here. So in handle player lost, we're going to pretty much do the same exact thing as handle player won, except we're going to say you lost instead of you won. So let's take this code here and put it in another function. So let's create a new function. Say function display end screen. Okay, it's not going to take any arguments, and it's going to return void. Oops, forgot about that. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy handle player 1, or the code inside of it. We're going to paste it in here, and now whenever we call display end screen, it'll go to the end screen. So let's take this code, put it in, or this function, put it in handle player lost function, and put it in handle player 1 function. And before I go any further, if you notice that sometimes I do add child and remove child without stage dot whatever in front of it, the reason why that works is because this code is added to the stage, so it just kind of assumes stage. And we'll go through and clean that all up later. Okay, but just know that this is okay to do this instead of saying stage dot add child, as long as this code is put on our main stage. All right, so we're displaying the end screen when we handle player lost, and we're also displaying the end screen when we handle player won. But we want to say 2 different things when we get to the end screen, right? So let's go ahead and in handle player 1, we'll say MC end screen dot txt title. Remember we named it that. Dot text. So we'll set the text property equal to u1 for handle player 1, and let's just copy this and go down into handle player lost, And instead of you won, we want to say you lost. So now we'll use the same exact end screen, except we'll say you won and you lost, depending on what they did. Now, the very last thing we want to do is instead, when we go to the end screen or when we restart our game under reset game, we want to reset the number of lives the player has. So what we can do is after our game started in our reset game function, we will reset the number of lives left. And then all we have to do is say lives left equals 2. And that's what we started with. So let's run this. Say start. Start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Uh-oh. We didn't quite do everything here. So what did we not do? We're going to end screen when we call handle player lost, and it should display end screen. So let's try and figure out what's going on. So let's go back up into our update function, our update game function, and when the player is out of lives, we want us to do handle player lost and then reload current level. The problem with this is that if we reload the current level, then the level is going to pop up on top of everything we already have. So if the player is out of lives, we want to handle player lost. And then else, we don't want to or if the player is not out of lives, then we want to reload the current level instead of going to the game over screen. But if we go ahead and do this, our current level is still going to be on the screen because we're not removing it now. So if you remember, we made a function called remove current maze. Let's go ahead and copy this code from here. It's actually right here, but we're just going to use this function, remove current maze, and we're going to actually remove the maze when the player loses instead of reloading it. Okay, so now if we save or run, now we should have something that actually works. So we'll have start, 1, 2, 3, remove it, and now it says you lost. Awesome. So I click restart, mouse maze game, click start, and now we're moving, now we're moving, now we're moving. Uh-oh. I might actually lose again. Oh man. Bam, you won. Good. So that's working awesomely. Let's go ahead and add some text to display onto our stage so that the player actually knows how many lives they have. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a new layer. Okay, we'll call this, we can just call it GUI, so graphic user interface, I believe. Yeah, graphical user interface. And this will just be where we put any kind of information the player needs to know, like lives left, what level they're on, things like that. So in our GUI, we're going to need to, let's lock and hide all of our other layers for now. In our GUI, we're going to use our text tool, and we're going to need to put something about how many lives left, right? So use our text tool. Let's click somewhere on the stage. There we go. And for now, we can just say lives left. Oops. And wow, mine is way too big. So I'm going to select all this and shrink it down. I'm going to use, let's say, 20. And I'm just going to resize some stuff here, just till I get something that I like. So that says lives left. Let me shrink this down just a little bit more. And remember, if you use a different font, that you have to embed it again. Okay, so be careful with that. I don't want this multi-line. I want single line. Is this going to actually work? Single line. Single line. Okay, whatever. This is being a little difficult, but we have lives left, and I don't want this to be black. I want this to be some other color that the player will actually be able to see. So I'm going to set mine equal to, I don't know, what color do we want to set it equal to? Maybe, let's try yellow for now. So we're not going to be able to see it here, but if we run our game and we click start, let's just go ahead and actually see what this kind of looks like. So we click start. Uh-oh. It's below our maze. How do we fix that? Well, I'll tell you how we fix that in a second, but first let's get this set up so that it's not over something else, right? So let's move this maybe to the top right corner, and We can even change our stage background color. It's kind of hard to see right now, but I'm just moving it to the right corner. And we can actually drag this over to the right so we have some more space. I'm just messing with some align properties and all that. So now we have this. We need to give it an instance name. Let's say txt. And make sure this is dynamic text. I'm going to say txt lives left. All right. So now what we want to do is we're going to hide this or remove it from the stage when we start, and then we're going to add it once we're in a level. Okay. So we're going to say, underneath actions. When we start, we want to, just like we got rid of the end screen right away, we want to get rid of lives left display right away. So we'll say txt lives left. And where do we want to add it? We want to add it when the game starts. When the game starts, we want to say, instead of removing the intro screen, then we want to add child txt lives left, add on GUI for lives left. And now when we run, we shouldn't have anything to start. There you go. When we click start, it should pop up. And now we still have this problem where the lives left is underneath our maze. All right. The way we get something to go to the top is by using a function called setChildIndex. Okay, and I don't really expect you to know how to do this, but I believe the quick fix for this is if we move this txt lives left after we get our next level. So that way, when we get our next level, then we'll add the state or the text on top of it, and then it should be on top. Yeah, so it's there. Okay, so for now, this will work, but what happens when we reload the level? Well, we reload the level, and then the text goes behind it again. So how do we fix that? So every time we reload the level, we want to take text lives left and add it to the front. So let's go all the way to our reload level function, reload current level. There we go, reload current level function. Or do we want to do it on remove current maze? Let's see. We remove the current maze here and we do it here. Okay, so we're going to need this in two different places. So let's create a function that will move GUI to top. All right, so say void, void, because we want this to work when we get the next level and when we add the actual maze. And actually, we could probably just put this in add current maze with magic, but whatever. We'll leave this here for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to say stage dot set child index. Okay, remember what I said, that if you add something to the stage that it becomes a child of it? Well, this kind of works the same way, except we're going to change the index or the order in our stage to determine which one shows up on top. So we're going to do set child index. We want to set, well, what do we want to set? We want to set txt lives left. You can kind of see it's hinting at what we're trying to do here. I know how this works because the API, I've looked it up. You can look it up if you want to know more. And then the way we add it to the top is we want to say we want to put it at the end because the end is considered the top. And the way we do that, I don't really expect you to know too much about this, is if we say stage dot num children. So this will give us the number of children we have, and then we want to -1 because the way this works, it starts counting at 0. So if you have 10 things, the last number in the position is 9 because it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's why we -1. If you don't really get that, that's no big deal. And this will just set lives left GUI to be on the top index. Okay, and then the function just moves the GUI to be above everything else. All right. So let's take this function, and I said it before, I just realized where we need to put this is under add current maze with magic. That's where we want to move our GUI to the top. Okay, so let's go right underneath here. Is after we add our maze, we want to make sure our GUI stays on top. So make sure GUI stays on top. And that stands for Graphical User Interface. Save, and let's run and test this. And if we are correct, say, what did we do? Access of, oops, I spelled lives left wrong. Shouldn't be text live left, it should be text lives left. Okay, now if we didn't do this in a function and I spelled that wrong that many times, I would have had to fix it every single time I put it somewhere. But because it's in this function, I can just change it once, and everywhere else I've used it, I know it'll work correctly. So now if I start, the supply display object must be a child of the caller. Let's take a look at what's going on here. So our problem is in our start game under get next level, add current maze with magic, and then moving and setting the child. So the main thing I want you to know here is underneath our start game, right? Remember we added our child text lives left after we got the next level? So txt lives left is not a child of the stage when we call get next level here, because remember we moved it, we removed it when it started. So in order to fix this, because it's trying to remove it from the stage when it's just not on the stage, we just need to move this above where it says get the first level. So our solution kind of caused some more problems, but now if we run, now we have something that should hopefully, cross our fingers, work. So there we go. It says lives left, and I click start, go down, it stays there the entire time. Now we just need to get rid of it when we go to you lost. All right. So when we lose the game or go to the end screen, right? When we display end screen, so display end screen, where is that? Here. We just want to say, before we even add the child, MC end screen, we want to remove child. Okay, and we'll say, what do we want to say? We want to say txt lives left. That's what we want to remove. So if we run this now, I want to say start, lose, lose, lose. Display object must be a child of the caller. Again, so under update game, handle player lost, display end screen, we're trying to remove child. So we display the end screen, txt lives left. Let's figure out what's going on here. Okay, so for whatever reason, it's not assuming that we're talking about the stage here. So if we put stage.removeChild and run, then we can cross our fingers and hope that this fixes it. So now it knows that it's part of the stage, and when we restart, click start game, it gets added again. So before we do anything else, let's go ahead and add this stage dot to any place we added a child or removed a child. So we'll say stage dot, let's copy this. We have an add child in display end screen. We have an add child and a remove child in reset game. Let's keep moving up. This one we did correct. This one we did correct. This one we did correct. Correct. This one's not correct. And up here, these two need to be changed, okay? And like I said, sometimes Flash lets you get away with being a little generic and it tries to assume things, and other times it's really stupid and has no idea what you mean. So let's run this, make sure that this works, that this didn't break anything. So we say, oh man, it broke things. So let's see what's going on. The supplied state, blah, blah, blah. We want to remove child in frame 1. Okay, so let's figure out what's going on. So I'm going to apologize a million times. I figured this out. There's one small detail that I forgot about. When you add something to the stage, right, by dragging it from the movie clip, you're actually not adding it directly to the stage. You're adding it to this invisible sort of container, and that container is added to the stage. So when we say stage.addChild, we're adding to the stage, but when we just drag it on, we're adding to this kind of middleman. And the problem with that is that when we say remove child or add child, we're trying to add or remove from that middleman, that invisible container. And when we say stage.addChild or stage.removeChild, we're trying to add or remove from the stage. So the way we have some stuff already on the stage from the library and then some stuff we add and remove with code, that ends up getting messy and it ends up causing problems. So there is a way to fix this, but we're kind of going to have to undo some of the stuff we've already done. So what we're going to do is go under Actions, right? And anywhere we have stage.removeChild or anything like that, we just want to get rid of the stage part. So a quick way of finding them, if you press Control F, it'll bring up something for finding. And we want to find .stage and replace it with blank because we just want to delete it. So don't click Replace All because you're not sure what it's going to do. But right now, it's finding this one here. So let's click Replace once and remove that there. And then I click Replace again, remove that one there. We want to remove this one, so replace. This one here, replace. Stage.setChildIndex. We actually want to replace these as well because we want to set the index of the invisible container and get the number of children from the invisible container. So we're going to replace, click replace again. For this one here, we do want to center it to our stage, so this is fine. We can leave it alone. So don't click replace, click find next. This one's fine as well, so click find next. This one we want to add child to the stage, or not to the stage, we just want to add child, so we want to replace this. Remove current maze down here. Oops, let's click find next again. We don't need to remove it from the stage, so let's replace this one here under reset game, replace. This one down here, click replace and replace again. So now we should have stage dot on our add event listeners. Up here, those two are fine. These two are fine as well. Okay, so now if we save and run, this should be working perfectly with one minor exception. So let's just click start. Start here, 1, 2, 3, we're all good. And the only problem is this part here on the end. Okay, we have an issue with removing our maze. So the problem is that we're not going to remove our maze anymore. Where is that function? We say remove current maze because it's checking to see if the maze's parent is the stage. And we're no longer adding it to the stage, we're adding it to this invisible container. But how do we actually get this invisible container? So instead of stage, let's just go ahead and say this, save, and run. So once we have that, now let's test this one more time. Now it's working perfectly fine, and everything is being added to this invisible container on the stage, so we don't have any conflicts, okay? So once we have that set up, we can actually go ahead and get our lives left to display. In order to get our lives left to show how many lives we have left, we have to change the text to contain whatever our variable is. And we should probably do that every time something changes. And every time something changes is usually when we move our GUI to the top. So that means we're adding a new maze or we're reloading one because the player lost lives. So we're going to go into our actions. Oops, and make sure you have that selected on your timeline. And we're going to go under move GUI to top, and we're going to say txt lives left dot text, because we're going to set the actual text property equal to lives left, and then how many lives we have left. So we have the variable lives left. Okay, and this will be update display of how many lives are left. And now this function name kind of doesn't cover everything we're doing in here, but it's fine for now. So let's run this, make sure this works. Every time we move GUI to top, we should say how many lives we have left. So when we start, we have 2 lives left. If we lose, we have 1 life left. Again, we don't have any lives left, so if we lose one more time, it's game over. Game over. You lost. Restart. Mouse maze game. Start again. Lives left are 2. And there we go. The next video will cover how to add on multiple levels and even get into some moving pieces of our maze. So I will see you in the next part.